I'm Isabelle Raghem. Today on CBC Vancouver News.
As a parent and as a police officer, it is extremely concerning.
Growing concerns of violence in BC communities after a child finds a gun on school grounds in Surrey.
10,000 jobs that are dependent on the cruise industry.
A warm welcome from BC's tourism sector ahead of a cruise ship comeback.
Maybe we don't belong in each other's lives.
Just unfriend me.
Conflict over convoys, how the protest in Ottawa is putting a strain on relationships across the country.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Anita Bath is away on assignment tonight. RCMP are asking for help identifying suspects in two separate alarming incidents in Metro Vancouver. In Surrey, a child found a gun on the grounds of an elementary school. And in Coquitlam, a man was stabbed, leaving him in critical condition. For more, let's go live to John Hernandez in Coquitlam. Let's start with the investigation into the stabbing in Coquitlam. What do we know so far, John?
Yeah, so what we know is that the 66-year-old man was attacked and stabbed here around 8:15 last night. Now, this is a pretty busy spot next to a movie theater and a bowling alley. Police say he was taken to hospital in critical condition with life-threatening injuries. Now, much of this parking lot was cornered off by police today, and you could even see blood spatter still on the sidewalk. A very unfortunate scene. We were supposed to get an update from Coquitlam RCMP today, but they did cancel on us, citing unfolding events. So the investigation is changing by the minute here.
Now, John, what about the discovery of the gun by a student in Surrey? What are police telling us about that?
Yeah, a very horrific discovery by students in that Fraser Heights area. And police say there's a possibility it could be some key evidence for a nearby shooting. The gun was found by children at Bothwell Elementary School on Thursday. Once staff found out, all the kids were brought inside and police were called.
Police officers did attend and seize the firearm, which is now in our possession, and we will be undergoing further analysis.
Police could not confirm whether the gun was loaded. Still, residents in this typically quiet community startled by what could have happened.
The children, they play in the playground, and it wasn't very safe for them to find a gun in the playground.
It's bad. You wonder where it came from because the children picked it up. Kids are kids, and he could have pointed at someone and killed them.
As an investigation into the origins of the gun rolls on, there's one connection that police have their sights on, a gang-related shooting just blocks away on February 8th, which has since been ruled a homicide.
We all need to be very, very careful. The very unfortunate thing right now is that it's happening in broad daylight in places that normally we wouldn't expect gang violence.
Crime Stoppers says the number of shootings has erupted in Metro Vancouver since the start of the new year, with more than 20 gang-related shootings under investigation in the Lower Mainland. That's double the pace of last year.
There's a turf war going on, absolutely no hesitation to say that. So far this year, we know that 5 people have been killed and there's been 21 shootings.
A concerning stat that's not lost on communities that are becoming the front lines of a gang war.
Yeah, it's really scary walking around our own neighborhood and not feeling safe.
Obviously, a very concerning uptick in crime across the region. That's why Metro Vancouver is asking anyone who might have any information about any of these incidents to come forward. Isabelle.
Thanks, John. Reporting live from Coquitlam for us this afternoon. After more than 2 years of empty docks, Vancouver is set to welcome its first cruise ship in April. For businesses in port-adjacent areas like the city's Gastown neighborhood, that means the return of thousands of potential customers. As Janella Hamilton tells us, that area has already seen 34 shops closed since the beginning of the pandemic, and remaining businesses rely on cruise ships to return for them to survive.
For any port city, the sound of cruise liners is the sound of a strong economy. But for the last 2 years, the Salish Sea around Vancouver has remained calm, following Canada's ban on international cruise travel.
We're not only talking about Vancouver, we're talking about Victoria and other places up and down the coast of British Columbia where people really rely on this sector.
With the ban now lifted, more than 300 sailings will be returning to Vancouver's Canada Place cruise ship terminal, along with tourists, jobs, and economic growth.
The cruise industry supported 17,300 jobs here in British Columbia, contributing about $2.6 billion to our economy.
The Port of Vancouver estimates each time a cruise ship docks at Canada Place, it brings in more than $3 million. Welcome news for businesses located in nearby tourism hubs like Gastown.
Some of the folks that really heavily rely on tourists and not so much the locals, some of them are still down 80% in revenue when you look at pre-pandemic sales numbers.
Kiarash Kalhor is the owner of Cigar Connoisseurs. He says the pandemic has put a lot of pressure on small businesses in the neighborhood.
We rely on the cruise ship season for our tourism, so that's sort of like the bonus that gets us through the winter seasons.
This Gastown gallery selling First Nations and Inuit artwork says cruise ship tourists make up a significant portion of their sales.
Many of these clients end up becoming our long-time clients that keep coming back on an annual or biannual basis.
The rules surrounding returning tourists, however, have yet to be finalized. The cruise ship industry says they are working with the federal government to determine PCR testing requirements and whether or not international cruise ships will be allowed to bypass BC ports again this year. In a statement to CBC News, the Minister of Transport says, "We're working with public health colleagues and the industry to determine a measured plan that will make sure we restart the sector safely and securely." The Port of Vancouver says starting in April, about 1 million cruise tourists are expected to flood the city. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
When passengers disembark those ships this spring, reaching stores in downtown Victoria might be more challenging post-pandemic. That's because cruise shuttle buses will no longer be able to drive along Government Street like they used to. Yesterday, Victoria's City Council decided to keep the road open to pedestrians only. It was closed to vehicles during the summer to promote foot traffic. The decision means buses will need to reroute, and business owners are concerned what this change will mean for sales.
You don't tend to walk that far. There's people, with wheelchairs, elderly that tend to go on cruises. I'm not saying that they're the only ones that go on cruises, but they don't tend to stray too far, and there are time limitations on how long they're here for.
The mayor of Victoria says she is confident the pedestrian-only street will be welcomed by travelers. Conservation officers removed over 300 illegal crab traps in Boundary Bay this week, saying they are part of a multi-million-dollar industry involving a network of organized groups and underground sales. Working with the Coast Guard, fishery officers found the illegally set gear, along with lost and abandoned equipment in the waters near White Rock. Officers say the traps are dangerous to sea animals. Fines for illegal fishing can run up to $500,000 and a 2-year jail sentence. The 37-year-old who was missing for almost 3 months on Vancouver Island is today thanking hundreds who took part in searches since late November.
This guy is just so scary. I was like, my God, am I going to die? Like, is this it?
Bear Henry was driving a camper van to an old-growth protest west of Cowichan Lake. That's when Henry says the van fell into a ravine in the mountains and out of sight. They sheltered inside the vehicle with blankets, rationing baked beans, peanut butter, and chips. They credit lessons learned from family with surviving alone for months in the wilderness.
My Uncle James taught me how to survive. As much as I didn't know it as a kid, anything he taught me, it came back in those moments. Like, know when to rest, know your limits, know when to ration. Anything I could find in the van. Cat food, beans, there's all like tomato sauce, like raw rice that I'd soaked in water for days. Anything.
After food ran out, Henry says they left the van and hiked 15 hours uphill, where Teal Jones logging contractors found them. The RCMP confirmed it conducted air and road searches, but no one saw the van. Demonstrations against vaccine mandates at the Pacific border crossing in Surrey are still underway as BC braces for more convoys over the weekend. This was earlier today at the Pacific Gateway Village, where protesters have been set up for days. RCMP say they have fielded numerous noise complaints from loud horns and other disruptions, but demonstrators say they plan to roll out more trucks over the weekend.
I have some trucks coming that are going to be here tomorrow on Saturday, and it's just going to be a slow roll.
Some business owners told CBC the demonstrations have affected their operations. Another convoy is planned tomorrow from Chilliwack to Surrey. Now to Ottawa, where beyond its local impacts, the protest has become a stumbling block for some relationships across the country. The rally has put a new stress on an already tough situation among people with differing views. And as Belle Pure reports, some are unfriending one another.
For people on both sides of the protests, it's the end of the road for many relationships, both in real life.
I feel like maybe we don't belong in each other's lives.
And on social media by unfriending contacts on Facebook.
At the beginning of this convoy, I had probably around 500 people, and now I have 120.
Damien Kahn says he's been able to agree to disagree with people opposed to vaccines or mask mandates, but this demonstration is different.
When you start standing behind a convoy that is, bullying other people, that tells me a lot about their core. My core just doesn't go with that.
They are very American style, in your face.
Leslie Dalgarno took another route. She posted on her social media, "If you are pro-truck rally, we are not friends."
Our values are just so diabolically different that I really please just unfriend me.
Rochelle Bondi went to Ottawa twice to support the rally, then got a message from an old friend hurling extreme accusations like,
"I'm a racist, I'm supporting misogynism." So I was in the process of typing the generic, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. I'm very sorry. And she blocked me and deleted me.
This psychologist says the truck protests have generated a divisiveness like she's never seen in 20 years of practice because it's all about fundamental beliefs.
Core values involve things that, would be the hill that we die on. They're the things that make us who we are and the things that we most value and prioritize in life.
Adrian Smith reached out to family and friends to ask for unity despite opposing views.
I didn't want to inflame the situation. I didn't want to make the divide any bigger, but I wanted people to start respecting each other.
In the midst of the discord, there's one thing both sides agree on. The toll on relationships may long outlast the protests. Belle Pure, CBC News, Vancouver.
Amy Bell joined us now with the look at the forecast. A beautiful sunny day in Vancouver today. What can we expect for the weekend?
More of the same. That's it. That's the forecast for the weekend. We're in great shape, actually. I don't mind jumping in here to deliver such a wonderful forecast for the weekend. We did start off with some fog in most areas this morning, but it did burn off quite quickly, and we will see the same pattern repeating tomorrow. But really, across the province, we're going to see the benefits of this ridge of high pressure bringing slightly warmer and, more importantly, brighter conditions. The only exception will be up to the very northern parts of the province, but we have this ridge of high pressure settling in for the next several days, and that's going to be enough to funnel everything up and over and then into Alberta. So we will see some clouds sneaking in by the end of the weekend, and then throughout next week we'll return to more seasonal weather, which means it'll be a little bit more wet and cloudier, but let's just enjoy a spectacular weekend. You can see right across Vancouver Island through into the Fraser Valley tomorrow. We have those temperatures reaching into the double digits in most areas, which is great for this time of year. And for the rest of the province, chance, we do have a slight chance of showers in the morning for Prince Rupert and a slight chance, as I mentioned, of some flurries just at the very northern tip of Dease Lake. But then we will see things settling down for the Kootenays, for the Okanagan. We're looking at a nice mix of sun and cloud, and those mild temperatures will persist. So a great day, a great weekend, in fact, for any travels they have to do on the major highways. For the 5-day forecast for us here in Vancouver, yes, we're looking at a bit of fog once again tomorrow. A little bit later to burn off than today, but still plenty of sunshine. Will hold steady right through the weekend. Wet on Tuesday and clouds on Wednesday. So enjoy the weekend.
We will enjoy it while we have it.
That's right.
Thanks, Amy.
You're welcome.
They've housed some of the biggest names in popular music, but a Vancouver recording studio says one of Canada's top cell phone carriers has caused a slew of cancellations. That story after the break. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. There's still plenty of snow, not here, but further you go east of the country. And while many are shoveling and dredging through heaps of it, the CBC's Alana Cole shows us how some people are turning all of that snow into art. Have a look.
This is probably my favorite tool. Just a garden spade, but you sharpen it up so you can shave with it.
The tools? Simple. The medium? Everywhere. But the finish? Pretty special.
Ideas are happening all the time, and you generate a few, and you hope to be able to bring them to fruition in snow when it comes winter time.
Meet Gary Tessier. He's been sculpting snow for nearly 40 years. This winter, he, alongside David McNair and Jacques Boulet, created this. Now they're turning this block into a series of Canada geese. Once the snow is ready, it could take up to 50 hours to finish.
And if you've been working inside for 6-8 months, to get outside for a few weeks and work hard, it cleanses the body, and soul, and mind.
You might find them anywhere. Here's Mario, carved by Gord Amero. He's across the street from École Riverview School. Teacher Yusuf Hawash says it can brighten your day.
Well, I think that's a good word. They're magical. These are kind of Disney characters. They're fun characters and something to look forward to coming into school each day.
Not too far from here.
More people need to open up and wear their heart on their sleeve is what I'm kind of saying with that.
Bradley Gerbrandt is a graphic designer. This is In the Name of Love. He made it in his front yard.
What are you going to do when it's minus 30 outside and all you have is snow? And you can actually make something pretty cool out of it.
He's happy if it makes someone smile, but there's a deeper meaning too.
That message is love, that we need more of it, and this is a flag that we can all get behind, and it's a big heart.
Back on Provencher, Tessier says anyone can learn.
And just about every Canadian child has done the snowman at one point in their lives. If they can do that, they want to take it a little further, explore, they can do it.
If you haven't had a chance to see the snow sculptures, good news. You're in Winnipeg. You still have plenty of time before they melt. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Some people in the LGBTQ community in Prince George are distancing themselves from a nightclub that is actively defying public health orders. Lambda Cabaret is the city's only LGBTQ+ nightclub. Last weekend, it opened its doors in defiance of public health orders. Their rallying cry was, quote, "We do not discriminate." Some residents say they are disappointed that the club is co-opting the language of acceptance to justify the decision.
You know, I remember times when there was so much homophobia and transphobia in Prince George that people needed to even get into the club, you needed to know somebody who could vouch for who you were and to keep the safety of the space. And it's really unfortunate that there's this co-opting of language of anti-discrimination, because as queer people, we have very real histories of discrimination within Canada.
Northern Health has issued a closure order, putting the club's plans to open this weekend in doubt. Last year, we brought you the story of a world-class recording studio in Vancouver plagued by radio interference. Now, a new report confirms the studio's suspicions that a nearby cell tower is to blame. Joel Ballard reports.
At recording studios, silence is golden. But at Armory in Vancouver, which has been visited by artists ranging from AC/DC to Sarah McLachlan, that silence has been shattered.
People expect, the highest quality from us. So, we have to deliver that. And to have this outside noise coming in, I think is just not fair. It needs to be dealt with.
For more than a year, the studio has been plagued with the interference, resulting in cancellations and, in some cases, lost clients.
We're an international studio, and we need the outside, international clients coming in. But, we can't lie to them.
Silvera and his team believed the interference was coming from a Rogers cell tower across the street. To get to the bottom of the issue, Rogers hired an outside company to investigate. In a report, it found the cellular signal has a dominant 4 kilohertz frequency signature. That signal is what's being picked up by the studio's microphones.
With this noise here, they'll never be able to operate at the same capacity that they did before this happened. It's not possible.
The Canadian government licenses companies to operate within certain spectrums. In this case, despite the interference, Rogers Tower is operating within its limits. In a letter to the studio, Rogers said, "It's now up to the owners of the affected equipment to resolve the issue." Its advice? Replace the microphones that are picking up the interference. Aside from the cost of replacing equipment that worked perfectly well before the upgrades, the team at Armory says it's like asking a painter to only use 3 of the colors in their palette.
It's art. We're creating art here, and there's tools that artists love to use and contribute to capturing the art that they want to create.
Musicians and creators expect a wide array of popular microphones. If a studio can't offer them, they say the artist will simply walk. With no end in sight, Armory Studios is hopeful Rogers will continue to work towards a solution.
We need to all work together and keep the conversation going, and not just putting up a wall like they have, and just saying, well, it's not our problem. It is your problem.
Joel Ballard, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now you're looking at a live shot from Beijing, where the Olympics are still going strong. After the break, we remember a local sports legend. Stay tuned.
Some of the athletes that are here are getting pretty worried that their events could be postponed. And you can probably guess what's to blame. The CBC's Tom Harrington is covering that story from Whistler tonight. Tom.
Peter, everyone here anticipated that BC's weather would cause chaos during these games, but the fog and the reality has set in, and people are nervous.
Pictures that don't make good Olympic postcards. Whistler Mountain, shrouded by fog for the second straight day. For recreational skiers and boarders, no big deal.
Right now it's foggy, kind of wet, but it's still snowing. That's nice. There's no one up there.
Not quite true. Somewhere up there, downhill racers battle the elements. The men did get a full training run in after yesterday's was cut short, but the fog wreaked havoc with women's training. After several delays, their session was canceled when an American skier crashed.
For the downhill training, there is a lot of delays during the whole World Cup season. So, yeah, you have to be patient, wait.
Patients may be wearing thin at Cypress Mountain, site of freestyle skiing and snowboarding. Lack of snow has been a problem for weeks. And now there's rain coming, a lot of it. 90 millimeters by Saturday night, when the women's moguls final is scheduled. Environment Canada says BC is in the path of a series of Pacific storms. In other words, this mess will be around for a few days.
This is a satellite image of the Pacific. And if you look right here, this is Vancouver. Okay? Over here is Japan. Today's storm, next storm, next storm, storm after that. This is your weekend's weather.
It's not as if Olympic organizers didn't know the weather might cause trouble. They got Ottawa to spend $9 million on forecasting services during the games. But compromised or delayed events watched by soggy spectators is not exactly a recipe for a spectacular opening weekend.
We are expecting some pretty heavy winds in the city and up at Cypress tonight. So again, we're taking some measures to protect as much of the courses as we possibly can.
The men's downhill is still scheduled for Saturday afternoon, but the gloomy weather has this Croatian coach sounding pessimistic.
As the forecast is, it's going to be postponed, yeah.
Now, it should be said that weather delays are not unusual at the Winter Olympics. Back in 1984, for example, the men's downhill was delayed for more than a week. And by the way, in that men's training run today, Canadians were second and third. Peter.
All right, Tom, thanks very much. Tom Harrington up at Whistler.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Get Metro Vancouver news that matters to you all in one place as it happens wherever you are with the free CBC News app. It's easy to use. Open the app and set your local tab to BC for news that's curated to you. And you can even watch live streams of CBC Vancouver News at 6 with Anita Bath and other CBC News broadcasts on the go. Download the free CBC News app and stay connected to where you live.
The founder of one of Vancouver's oldest sports shops has died at the age of 95. Abby's was founded in 1948 by Albert Bevilacqua. We spoke with some of those who knew him best.
It was always about the game, the sports, and getting people playing the sports.
He had that personal connection with almost everyone that came into the store.
And he would order stuff from Sears and put items in the storefront. That was the beginning of Abby's.
We got to learn every single sport from a very young age, and that comes in handy when you're growing up.
You know, if people couldn't quite afford the amount that the hockey stick was, he would certainly offer that you can pay next time, get me next time, you're a couple dollars short, no big deal.
He opened the store in 1948 and finally sold it and retired in the year 2000. So that's 72 years.
Coached, managed, sponsored, and played.
But he loved Vancouver. He loved to drive us around, show us all the sights over and over again, and tell us stories about where he grew up and, you know, where he learned to swim, where he would play baseball, where he would play football. He just loved it. He was a huge fan of Vancouver and everything happening around the city.
But we're a community store. We like watching the kids grow up from 4, and now 10 years later I've got kids that were down here that are above me now, and that's kind of a neat part of this business, is seeing the community grow right before your eyes.
What a great tribute. Thanks for watching us this afternoon. CBC Vancouver is on at 3 p.m. weekdays during the Olympics on television. You can also watch our newscast anytime on our website, Facebook, or YouTube. Have a great rest of your day.